It's time now for the Ask the Mayor program here in your hometown news station, AM 1300 KGLO. And the first full week of the month on Thursday, we normally sit down and talk about Mason City. And Mason City's Mayor John Lee joins us back on the program this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bob. You have a good fourth?
I didn't have a bad fourth. How about you?
It's hard to have a bad one in North Iowa, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, you could have get fireworks back-to-back nights, and you don't have to leave the county, right?
Yeah, you don't have to leave your house.
Yeah.
Now, I know some people hate it, and it's been controversial, but it is. It's a crazy 48 hours in North Iowa.
Well, let's talk about that, because we had the story earlier in the week about some discussion about that over at the Clear Lake City Council meeting on whether the overreach of the state government into the local government regulating fireworks here locally is a good or a bad thing. And I guess that's the first thing I'd say. That law that was passed last year, good or bad?
Well, it's the inconsistency, and I have sometimes issue with is when people are claiming local control, local government is the best form of government, and then you do things that takes that choice away. And that's been pretty consistent the last couple of years. Local government, and then not until something like this. I do believe in local decision making as much as possible. But then the state government, they passed a law, whatever it's been, what's it been, 7, 8 years now, 6 or 7 years that, legalized fireworks. And it's been controversial ever since. I do think majority of our citizens enjoy them, but there is obviously a very vocal minority, or I don't know the percentage, but, it scares, the PTSD, the dogs, the people who just want to get some sleep. But that's also why we decided right away to give the compromise in Mason City was, okay, because I think we can do it for like 10 or 12 days legally, like the state of Iowa would allow us. It's a big window if we wanted to. Right. And we just narrowed it down to those 2 days as kind of the compromise, I felt. And then the state went ahead and forced everybody to do it.
But do you like the state overreaching like that? I mean, I
generally no.
And I am saying overreach. I mean, maybe you don't feel that.
Yeah, obviously the state of Iowa has what they can. I don't like necessarily they did that. I think towns should be able to make certain decisions for themselves. I think this was a little too far. Even though, example is I voted for this. I voted for July 3rd and 4th, but I don't like the fact that the government or the state of Iowa was necessarily dictating it, or whatever you want to say. Trust the citizens for themselves. Kind of like, go back to the property taxes if you want. If the citizens themselves generally, elect people who are like, you know what, we will raise your property taxes 3 or 4% because we want to do this X, Y, or Z, or we have to do this. We should have that opportunity as a local government. And what you have is a state of government, state of Iowa right now, you have certain party that's like, we believe in local control, and then they do certain things like this. Just the inconsistency.
Right.
And that's, I think, what bothers a lot of us.
Well, let's talk about, the things that are going on here in Mason City with, of course, this was the initial week to have everybody change their garbage and recycling into the new Cart Smart program. And first things first, I know you got to go on a Monday morning right away at 6 a.m. and see the first couple of pickups.
Yeah, I did. I'm sure they love to hear that the mayor was going to do it right along with the first pickup right away, but I went with Brandon, and he was great. He was fantastic. And absolutely, they didn't have a lot of time to train because they're very busy every other day picking up, garbage anyway. So for not training, I think they did a great job. But at the same time, we know there's a learning curve. But yeah, you could tell there was a couple streets we went on where there was really no cars parked, and the containers were perfectly aligned and they were separate by 3 feet. And he went down, picked up, whatever it was, 5, 6, 8, whatever, pretty quick, pretty easy. And then we turned the corner and they're, the containers face the wrong way. They're next to each other side by side. I saw one that put 2 carts between 2 cars, and they were almost bumper to bumper. There was no way to do it. And so eventually these guys are going to be told just to drive by and not pick them up. It is, it's convenience for a lot of people, but it's also, there's a money saving. If over time, we got to also save money by doing this. The point of this was to save money to taxpayers ultimately. And if these guys got to get out of the truck every 3rd or 4th pickup, we're not doing that.
And the first day was a long one. I know it was like
Yeah.
13 hours, like from 6 to 7, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. If I heard Public Works Director
Yep.
Jim Collins say. But then Tuesday was a little bit better day. It's a little different. You really can't compare the two routes from the
No.
northeast side to who has it on Tuesdays. Garbage pickup,
The
northwest side.
side.
Uh, it's kind of tough to compare, those two quadrants of the city when you have garbage pickup, but it was a lot faster.
Yeah, it was, and it sounds that it went smoother. But like you said, it's really hard to compare. I didn't realize this probably up until probably just 4 or 5 years ago. All four are very distinct pickups, like all 4 days. Right. The amount of pickups can separate by hundreds of houses. Also, the type of houses, smaller neighborhoods with tighter houses, more compact, more cars. There are certain areas of the city that have more cars on the streets than others. So you have 4 very distinct days. But it did sound like it went better. But if I have this opportunity just to talk to our citizens, it really is important that we work with each other and we work with you, trying to make sure what works, but at the same time working with these men who really are trying to be efficient and get out there. And so just a reminder, we need both out there by 6 a.m. You can put them out the night before. We encourage you to put it out the night before. Now with these lids and they're heavier, they're not going to blow away like the other stuff. The recycling isn't going to blow in the wind. Get them out. Keep the lid shut. We don't want to overfill them. And then put them about 3 feet apart. Get them on the curb or the driveway. Some people are putting them on the street, and that worked a little bit too. But just keep away from mailboxes, utility lines, cars. Just make it as efficient as we can. And it'll go well, and it'll be in the long run really worth it.
And to reiterate, your comment about cost savings, it's not this isn't cutting employees or anything like that. It's just a channeling of resources from that whole public works department, which does a lot more than just garbage and recycling pickup.
So now, we're going to move people around, through attrition. We moved in, no one lost their jobs. But also, it's something that very few people talk about. I know we've mentioned it, but I'm not sure if it landed with everybody. The most dangerous job we have in the city were those guys riding the back of those trucks. Right. It can get negative 20 degrees. We know it can blow a wind, negative 50, 105-degree days, humidity. And you're jumping on and off a moving truck. We know we did a road safety proclamation last night for mostly bicyclists and pedestrians. But across the nation, cars have run into these vehicles because people are on their phones. And so you're on the back of a truck that's moving with distracted drivers. Right. It was a very dangerous job, and this protects those guys greatly.
And obviously, a lot, sometimes just, you mentioned safety like running in, but I'm sure there's a lot of, some injuries as well, just from the lifting and the wear and tear.
For sure. It's a lot of lifting, a lot of, twisting and turning. They're not supposed to jump off of a moving truck, land with 2 feet, step on, it moves. We know that's not going to happen. Everybody in the world knows it doesn't happen like that. They're not supposed to pick up and toss over their shoulders. But it's human nature and they're moving. So no, it was a very dangerous job. We watch our healthcare costs, obviously, in this country, in this nation. Healthcare is one of the biggest expenses for everybody. And all it would take is one very traumatic, horrible event, and any cost saving. I mean, it justifies probably $1 million or $2 million.
I know the phone lines have been jammed at Public Works. It sounds like, at least that's what Jim Collins made and we're taping this on Wednesday, the day after the council meeting, for playback on Thursday. But sounds like they've had a lot of phone calls there, and I don't know about City Hall, but not. But it's, obviously it shows people are concerned, and some of them obviously are, they're going to crab about things no matter what. Others, they just maybe have a simple question about, did I miss this piece of information in doing this right?
Yeah, there's a lot of phone calls, and he said most of them were about, I want to change, my container size.
Because the container size.
Yeah, container size is probably the biggest phone call. And it's an opportunity if you wanted to and get to the 96 people. I think people realize it might be worth $8 or $10 a month extra. Right. You can put a lot in there, and it probably is better for all of us if more people went that route. That way you don't have those extra bags. It pay for itself. If you're a person who, usually has 1 or 2 extra tags, we easily pay for itself throughout the year. And so we'd probably encourage that, but it's going to create a big bottleneck for us to pick up garbage cans and now deliver and exchange. We knew this would happen. To what extent, we weren't sure. And so, no, that's a big thing. But also, one thing that when we drove and you go in the neighborhood, you go around blocks, you pick up right side, you come back down the other side. And I only rode for an hour, but in that hour, there was 3 cans that came out between 6 and 7 after we had passed them. And I'm sure they called and said they went right by my place and didn't pick it up. That's why we encourage people to put it out the night before. Just get it out there the night before. That way we don't have to come back and pick it up, and we don't have to have the discussion. You don't have to make the phone call and say they didn't pick it up. And we say, well, we drove by, and then you have that whole discussion. So another reason why to get it out the night before.
And secure those lids.
And secure the lids. Just keep them down. Don't put a bunch of stuff in there so the lid's partially open. There are towns, we didn't decide to do this, but there are towns that actually will not pick up if the lid's partially opened, and they will not pick up any extra bags. We're trying to work with the citizens by getting that extra bag on top. If it doesn't work, we might have to relook at what we do or don't pick up. But that is a decision we discussed and went with the one we have, obviously.
MasonCity.net. Go there, and there's a whole Cart Smart section to answer all your questions. And you can look up, I guess, the other from the council meeting on Tuesday night. One councilman asked about the recycling schedule and maybe not quite understanding that. And probably the best thing to do is to, if you didn't have that information in your mailbox that I believe was mailed out to everybody, go to that website. There's a specific link on that Cart Smart website where you can go plug in your address, and it will show you the next date that you can get.
So I had to write it down, or I had to check it's masoncity.net/collection day.
Okay.
So masoncity.net/collection day. And you can go right there and it'll tell you what yours is, red or blue. And then you just got to alternate from there. We joked in my house, even getting a red or blue sticker and flipping it on the, the fridge,
right?
Just what week it is. Because it seems simple. Like you put it out once, it's not again in 2 weeks. We've all been there. We're like, well, did I do it last week or did I not? We know that's problematic, but keep an eye on the neighborhood, talk to your neighbors. That's something we'll work through. Because again, we're about 50. I try to look it up 6 months ago. I think there's 30 to 50 cities in Iowa that do this, if not more, that confirmed. So there's a lot of towns who have done this. And once they get there and once they get figured out, people really enjoy it. A lot of small towns around us do it. And so it'll work.
Mason City's Mayor John Lee joining us on the Ask the Mayor program here on KGLO today. And one of the other things for the council meeting on Tuesday night, obviously the development that was earmarked for the just north of the north side of the downtown loop for the Horizon development for the 45-unit low-income senior housing project. Unfortunately, that they decided to pull out of that project, and it was just a big enough gap of money in the project that they just had to do it.
Yeah, they didn't want to. When you're a developer and something falls through and you've gone through it for two years, whatever it's been, obviously you're going to lose a lot of money. But also you get the stigma of not closing the deal, and the next city looks at that and sees that. And so they did everything they could. We tried to do everything we could, but the construction costs over the last 2 years made this practically impossible. Granted, they didn't get a grant or two they're hoping for, but from my understanding, when it came down to it, the construction costs created just too much that they couldn't close that gap, and they didn't get those grants. But it is definitely a missing part of the housing that we were really excited about. Low-income senior housing is needed in this town. It would have been a great spot right across from Fairway to walkability to our downtown. And some of them could have walked downtown to, Friday Night Live. It is a great little spot location, a place that needs some development, in there. So we were pretty excited about it. And I know it's very disappointing for us as a city and for them as a business.
Well, and sounded like city staff was hopeful that something could eventually be found to be put on that spot.
Well, we'll pivot as quick as we can and go back through. There was 4 requests for that spot for different businesses that looked into it. We picked the one that had a great track record and we needed or wanted in this town. And so we'll pivot. We'll look at see if they're still available. But again, those people would have wanted the tax credits too, and they missed out on the tax credits. But doesn't mean they can't get them next year.
Well, it's Park and Recreation Month, and I know there was a special proclamation that was given to Brian Pauly, the Parks and Rec Director, and he'll be in later this month to talk a little bit more about Parks and Recreation Month. But just look at our city and whole, it's it's a lot of parkland, a lot of recreation opportunities. Of course, Governor Reynolds was here last week to give her examination of the new bike park, and lots of positive things with parks and recreation here in the community.
I think this is a thing that I think if you've never lived somewhere else, or even if you have, you weren't paying attention, or your kids aren't right age, or whatever, that it's a simple thing to take for granted in Mason City. Our park system is second to no one. The amount we have for the amount of citizens we have, 800 acres of land. It is very difficult to, take care of, but it's something we do the best we can. And we're even looking at expanding, because that is part of that quality of life people want. Get out, walk, trip, bike with the bicycles. And Brian does a great job of promoting it and just taking care of that. And we're excited. We expanded some of his duties this year, and he's doing a great job.
And Governor Reynolds and her family love the bike park, so that was good to see. That, of course, that big, the big part is that the state helped with that.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
Of course, Governor Reynolds was kicking off her Office of Outdoor Recreation or something.
Yeah, I don't know the official title, but that kicked off this year. Yeah,
but that was good. Good to see those kids excited for his grandkids getting off the Winnebago.
Yeah, I couldn't make it, but I've heard that she was more grandma than governor.
Yes, she was.
That it was kind of fun to watch, just from from that standpoint. Her grandkids were jumping on bikes, and
we went up to the top there, the hub or whatever you call it, and the governor's watching the kids safely go through the park and
yep,
and have fun. So.
It's been a great thing. I've heard great things about it from our citizens who have taken the dive, and again, it can be daunting. You get out there and look at it and say, I can't do this. This is ridiculous. No, follow the line, stay on the correct color, and it's not that bad at all. I've been on it a couple of times, and I will stay on the ground the entire time.
Me too.
And hopefully me off the ground, my tires on it. That's
true.
The goal.
That's true too. You mentioned a little bit before Road Safety Month. There's a proclamation for that, and just go ahead and talk about that proclamation.
Yeah, the federal government, and I just kind of reached out to this. The federal government, obviously, or one organization says roadside safety, especially in rural America, and it's very fitting for Iowa because of RAGBRAI. And people think about RAGBRAI in one route, but what you have actually in the month of July is everybody's preparing for that thing, or they're being reminded to get out. And July is a very busy month for bicyclists out on the roads. And obviously, we had a tragedy strike our own here. And it is a tragedy for a lot of different angles. And so I just decided to do the proclamation to the federal government, but then make it more local. And with Jenny Bowles Verba, what happened with that accident, and VRBA, I just kind of created a vehicle responsibility and kind of bicycle awareness. But it's also a reminder that we're all responsible. So are the bicyclists. So are the citizens who are walking. But if you have the bigger vehicle, if it's a pedestrian walking and a bicyclist, the bicyclist is responsible. If it's a car and a bicycle, the car's responsible. If it's, a scooter and a bicycle, just be aware of your surroundings at all times and do the best you can. It's a law, but at the same time, it's an addiction. Get off that phone the best you can. I know we all kind of slide into that, or hopefully, I'm way better than I used to be. And it's something we just got to constantly work on and constantly remind each other that do not be distracted, put that phone away, pay attention to your surroundings.
Something that probably ties in better with Park and Rec Month that we just talked about here moments ago is we're starting tomorrow, Friday. We're going to have a lot of pickleball people.
Yeah. The pickleball tournament in Mason City has become legendary, I guess. I just said, if you don't know, you don't know. And I don't really know. I just know what ours is. But I've been told by some of the pickleball, aficionados and Brian Pauly and them that no, this is one of the biggest tournaments like in the Iowa and the Midwest or whatever. There's a lot of people going to descend on East Park between Friday and Sunday. And every year I go down there and check it out. And it's a big event. Get out and look at it. Even if you don't play or you don't care to play, just go down and observe and watch these people we're talking all ages too. A lot of people have this, the stereotype that pickleball is, it's 60 years old or more. Not anymore. I can't tell you how many of my high school students just love pickleball, and they're 16, 17, 18 years old. And I would love to see, make my best pitch right now. my son and my daughter lived in Kansas City, and there's a chicken and pickle the restaurant / bar down there that had indoor outdoor pickleballs, and they served chicken and fries and obviously probably cold beverages. But it was a huge event, and I think something like that, and especially during the winter, an indoor pickleball court I think would do well in this town, and I'd love to see somebody kind of take that risk. Obviously something the city ain't going to do, but it would be I think a great opportunity, because I got a lot of high school students who love that sport.
And there, some of the other things that'll be going on this weekend are on Friday. I know we talk about the Riverwalk, and they're going to have an afterglow tour down there, which it looks like that'll be fun for if people have not been down there at night. Sometimes that's the best time to go down to the Riverwalk.
The Riverwalk's fantastic, but at night it's a different, experience. It's like when I visited Mount Rushmore with my kids. We went during the day, and somebody there said, "You need to come back at night. It's a different experience." Same thing here, and it is a different experience. And the good news is, you get to walk with. I guess I don't know if Bill Schickel's given the tour, but Bill Schickel's given the tours in the past. Bergel and Cram has been there, who designed it, and so to hear people talk about the motivation behind it's important. So go down to Friday Night Live, catch some music, get some dinner from on the plaza, or go inside, get some dinner, bring it out, enjoy the Friday Night Live, and then go down, and then afterwards go check out the walk as a community and see and experience it. I plan on being there. It'll be a good experience. And then Thursday night we have Municipal Band down there, correct?
Down at the Principal Pavilion.
Yes. Yeah. So
I unfortunately will be missing tonight's concert, but
okay. Well,
duty calls to the Clear Lake softball tournament game.
Okay. Well, you got to, we all choice.
Final concert of the season. I'll just put in my plug there. So.
Oh, it is a final concert. All right. So get out there. I mean, Thursday night, Friday night, you got pickleball this weekend. Right now there's a photo walk. I haven't been there, but my wife and I plan on going here today probably. And checking out in McKnight Art Museum. It's supposed to be a really pretty amazing go and experience that. There's a lot going on in Mason City in North Iowa.
It's just Robert to say people can't say there's not anything going on.
There really is.
There's a lot of things going on.
If you want one hub or two hubs that are pretty good at getting most things out there, go to Mason City Chamber website, or Mason City, visit Mason City or Main Street Mason City. Do that. Let's not forget in the arena, July 25th, there's a big MMA fight going on in there. So, if you're not into the photography of McKnight, or maybe you're into that, but there's a lot of things you can do to get out in this community. Check out a couple websites, get involved. Like my kids say, touch grass. I think it's supposed to be an insult. I think it's actually supposed to be, to me, motivation.
Right.
Get out and see the community and be part of something.
Mayor, we always appreciate you taking some time out. We'll talk to you later in the month.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Bob.
Mason City's Mayor John Lee on the Ask the Mayor program here on your hometown news station, AM 1300.